Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. I know I haven't made a video in a while, so I finally got around to it. I was a bit busy with, as you might imagine, there's a lot of things going on in Russia, and I'm going to talk about it. And I'm also going to talk about living abroad and how I am having a much higher living standard here than I did in California. So I've been watching a bunch of channels about living abroad. I watched one where people moved to Ecuador and they were living in Ecuador. Then I watched another one about this girl in Germany, like German mom, who moved to Germany from Texas. And she's talking about how great life is. But first, let me show you where I am. Now, I am in a super cool park in this is actually in the literally center of Moscow. Look behind me. There is luxury penthouses right there. And I'm also going to walk around a little bit and show you guys the scenery. But anyway, so I'm living in what you call an equivalent of Manhattan for a fraction of what it will cost to live in Manhattan. Now, I didn't move here. It took me like 3 years until I kind of, got my way around Moscow. Even though I was born here, it was not easy because Russia is, a puzzle. Winston Churchill said, right? Russia is an enigma wrapped in an enigma. But guess what? I was freaking born here, and I agree that this place is an enigma. And there's also a saying that you cannot understand Russia with logic. In Russian, it sounds like «умом Россию не понять», which literally translates to you cannot understand Russia with your brain. Meaning a lot of things are illogical here, and I totally agree with that. But anyway, so there's a lot of channels about, moving abroad and everything, and I can tell you guys that if you have your head on straight and you have some kind of remote work, then moving abroad is the way to go, because you're gonna have a way higher standard of living than you ever had in the United States. Why? Because a lot of things that people have talked about, namely safety, the cost, the things are in the United States super expensive. For example, living in New York, right? Well, I can tell you that living in an equivalent European city would be like several times cheaper than living in New York. Let me show you guys around. Hold on, I'm gonna exit the park right now and check out this place. Now compare this to when I was living in California, in freaking shithole California. How nice is this? How about that? A bit better than California for like 1/5 of the cost, if not more. And look at how there's all kinds of expensive cars here. There's a Porsche going on, and look behind me. There's a really nice street, as well. So this is, I'm gonna walk around and then we're gonna talk. No, the key is not to get run over here. Not everything in the United States is bad, I found out. Namely, the salaries, of course, are going to be much lower. The local salaries. If you move to another country, if you have to work for a living, and unless you're making good salary, it's not going to be that great. Although it's still going to be a higher standard of living than what you had in America. I don't think you can get any worse than living in like California or New York, because what does an apartment? For example, let me say even in Europe, right? I think if you go to like Malaysia or something, it's going to be even cheaper. But even in almost any European city, I know that includes Moscow, you can rent an apartment for as little as $500 a month. $500 a month. It's going to be a decent apartment in a decent place, not a ghetto, because there is no ghetto here. The same apartment in New York would cost you $5,000. In LA would cost you $5,000. Literally apartments are like 10 times cheaper. Well, maybe not 10, but at least 5 times. I would say this: a decent apartment would cost you at least 2,500, maybe not 5,000, but at least 2,500. You know, look at this building behind me. It says TMX on it. I don't even know what that is. Probably some kind of oil company or whatever. TMH. In Russian, it's X is H. Like TMH. It's probably some kind of like whatever. I don't feel like googling it. So, am I happy that I moved away from California? Yes. I'm still using, the American stock market. I'm still, I'm still working remotely. Unfortunately, that's the thing that pisses me off really bad, is that I haven't been able to find meaningful work in Russia. There's a lot of competition. Salaries are very low. So it's not, not everything is that great. But I think considering with our digital economy right now, you can live abroad having income from, electronically or work digitally, work remotely. And it's wonderful that, you can do that. And I think also, well, let's walk down there. I'll show you guys a very fancy apartment complex or whatever. Now, you have to understand that this place where I'm walking in is one of the most expensive real estate in Russia. This crap, apartments here cost a lot. So this is what I wanted to talk about. So I've been watching videos about Portland, about New York, and how San Francisco, all of the crime and all that crap. And I'm thinking finally, all of the mismanagement has caught up with them. And, finally people have had enough, moved out, people moving out of California. And the cities are turning into an apocalyptic wasteland, which is what they deserve. Because behind all of that, homeless people, behind all of that destruction is really shitty people who run those cities and live there. People look people look at San Francisco and go like, oh, I feel sorry for them. Don't feel sorry for them. They freaking deserve it. I don't know if you ever lived in California, if you experienced how cruel people are there. They're not nice. It's not that like what's going on in California happened to like nice people who don't deserve it. No, it happened to shitty people. God punished them, so, Alright, check it out here. I'll show you guys. Look at this crap. This is a very elite, expensive apartment complex. I would probably be guessing a lot of apartments here go for like $1 million plus. Now, might not be a lot of money to you guys in the West, but in Russia, $1 million apartment is considered very expensive. And look, they're still building things. Check it out. See, there's a construction zone. So you pay $1 million and then you hear no construction noise all day long. Which is kind of, but this looks fancy. Check it out. And it's not that, the apartments look fancy. It's the location. That this is a very, very prime elite real estate location. You gotta know, Moscow. Like, now that I lived here, I understand which parts are more expensive. Like, if you're just visiting, you're not gonna know. So you have to be kind of local. But in the beginning, when I first moved to Moscow, even though, again, I was born here, I'm talking about like some kind of tourist. Like, I was born here. I lived in one area, which was not very good, and I lived in another area. So it took me a while to realize where I'm supposed to live and all that. But I think what's going on in the West is just like all of the good things have moved to online. So you can basically take advantage of all that, that's good in, for example, the United States through online. The stock market and all that, everything is online, But in the real world, things are degrading completely. I think Places like New York, LA, San Francisco are unlivable at this point. They're not just bad, they're unlivable. So, and they're expensive, which is just insane. I think, like, not only is it expensive, it's shit at the same time. Which you would think would, not happen, but it does happen. But anyway, I hope you guys liked this video and a nice walk through, fancy apartments in Moscow, Russia. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.